Go ahead and call this meeting in order. First item is roll call.
Alderman Bamman.
Here.
Alderman Coleman. Alderman Headley. Alderman Stratton.
Here.
Alderman Totten.
Here.
Alderman West.
Here.
Next item will be invocation led by Pastor Darrell Jones from Crossroads, and then followed by pledge of allegiance from Alderman Stratton.
Let's pray together. We give you thanks again today, God, just for another day. We're alive. We're here to tell about it. And although we may all encounter various circumstances, we've been able to enjoy the fruits of your labor. And so we pause for just a moment to give you thanks. To give you thanks for our community, our leaders, those that sit before us, and those that will transact business on our behalf. God, give them leadership, wisdom, discernment, and strength. And God, I pray you bless them for the work that they do, both in this room and outside of this room. And bless the proceedings tonight, and for your glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next item is approval of the agenda.
No changes, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. See no proclamations, and move on to citizens' participation. We ask that any citizens who wish to address the board come forward to the microphone and podium, and please give your name and address for the record. Do you have anyone who wishes to address the board this evening? Seeing none, move on to the consent agenda.
Mayor, I move that we accept the consent agenda.
I have a motion from Alderman West to approve the consent agenda. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Totten. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Seeing no previous business, move on to new business. We have liquor license applications.
We have 3 initial reads on liquor license applications tonight. June is the month when we see our renewals come in. But for new liquor license applications, they have to actually be read twice. And so I'm going to go through each one with you because 2 of them are a little bit of a unique situation, and the third is a brand new one. The first one that I'm asking you to approve for a second read tonight is with the Green Valley Partnership, and Tasha Lindsay is here, and Darrell, if we have any questions. They're requesting a Class G license, which is their temporary permit for sale by drink, which helps them run the beer tent at the fair. And the reason they're on is a new read, because we're moving them from the license under the chamber to the partnership, and Tasha's name is on as the applicant for that. So since it's a new name and a new applicant, we have to go through the new read process. Does anybody have any questions on that one? I have all Tasha's paperwork in. Chief has reviewed all 3 of these tonight and has given his initial approval on them as well.
Separate motions on each one? Or?
I don't know, I've never done 3 at once.
You can, unless you're going to not approve one, you could do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do all with one motion.
Okay. So if there's no questions on that one, I'll move on to the next one, which is for JY Amigos, and this is actually El Maguey's liquor license. When I was going through the renewal file this year, I started looking into it a little bit and realized that the initial applicant had actually passed away several years ago, and so this is just doing the background check and all the paperwork to get the current applicant up to speed with everything that we require for a liquor license. This one, since technically they thought that they were doing a renewal like we've been doing in the past, I just went to them maybe about a week and a half ago or 2 weeks and asked them to get all their paperwork in. And so I've been faxed over copies. I don't have my originals yet, and I'm still waiting on a copy of a driver's license, and they're going through the fingerprint process. So it's my hope that by our second read, all of that will be taken care of. But I have everything else has been faxed over. And they are looking for the same license they have now, which is their restaurant and their Sunday sales for restaurants. And then the last one We have representatives here from our new Mexican restaurant that's going in on Main Street on the corner there. I'm going to probably not say your restaurant name correctly. What is it called? Tequilazo. Okay. And so they, didn't want to mess it up. Oh, yes, okay. El Tequilazo? Cochina Cantina? Cantina. Yeah, close enough.
Thank you.
So they are here tonight, and actually I, as of now, have all of their paperwork in as well. Chief has looked over their application as well, and so they are looking for the same, a Class H and a Class I restaurant and Sunday sales liquor license. So if anyone has any questions for them, I'm sure they'll be happy to answer those as well.
Okay. So you just need motions for first read tonight?
Correct.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion then for first reading on this. Motion from Alderman West, second Alderman Spanley. Any discussion then on any of them? All right. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right. All right, so we'll do the second reading for the next meeting then?
Yes, and we'll have all the renewals on the
Okay.
next
All right.
meeting as well.
Sounds good. Seeing no additional new business, move on to presentations. We have 2017 audit report.
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, it is that time of year again. Come on up, Butch. I was just going to introduce you. So we've got Butch Beeman from Trout Beeman and Company to give us the 2017 audit report for the city of Green Valley.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. City Administrator. And good evening, Mayor and members of the Board of Aldermen. Butch Beeman, as was indicated, with Trout Beeman and Company, and we are the city's auditor. And we always appreciate the opportunity to come before you and answer any questions you might have, as well as provide a summary of the financial statement and audit report that you probably do have in front of you or received electronically. You see, I only have a few pages flagged. We do not, as always, we never intend to go through the entire 100 and some odd pages, and everybody's thankful for that. What I would like to steer your attention to is pages 1 through 3 in the bound document, or again, you may have it in electronic form, but this is our independent auditor's report. And two things I want to highlight on page 1. There's a section called Management's Responsibilities, and in there it's noted that the City of Green Valley is responsible for its financial statements and the fair presentation of the information in those financial statements. Then a little bit later, it talks about the auditor, or the firm's responsibilities, and our job is to conduct an audit in accordance with generally accepted auditing standards, and then to render an opinion on your financial statements. And we've done that, and I believe it's on page 2, under the heading Opinion. We render our opinion, and after doing the required audit procedures as well as additional procedures that we determine appropriate in state circumstances, we have rendered opinion, and we say, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but we basically say the city's financial statements are presented fairly in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. That's what you all, in your fiduciary capacity as the elected officials of this community, that's what you would hope to receive. You would hope that as a result of our audit, your records were so reflecting the financial activity of the city and the disclosures were appropriate and so on, that we could then render that opinion. That's the highest level of reporting that we can offer. It's important to you all and your fiduciary capability and capacity. It's important to your bond counsel, and it's important to the citizens of the community. So that would be what I would share with our report. If you would move to page 4, let me pause just a moment. Those of you that remember in the past, this is pretty informal, so if you've got a question as I'm moving along, just raise your hand. If I don't see you, yell or whatever. It's all good. On page 4, I would highlight a couple of things. This is a statement of net position. Think of it as the balance sheet, but also think of it like, as I shared the analysis in the past, It's like a picture, it's a snapshot in time. It's as of December 31, 2017, not the day before, not the day after. A couple of items I would highlight. The very first line, pooled cash and investments. You can see that the non-business type, or basically non-water, if you will, was just a shade less than $9 million. And in the business type activities, a little over $4 million, so right at $13 million. This is about $1.5 million greater than a year ago, and there are various reasons for that, all positive. The smaller amount of cash and investments says restricted, and those are funds that are to be set aside to cover such things as security deposits when people hook up to your system, to cover reserve and restricted monies related to bonds, monies associated with their court bonds, that type of thing. Then about halfway down underneath the bolded liabilities, and about another 5 or 6 lines after that, the bonds, capital leases, and contracts due within 1 year. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that later on, but you can see it's just a little over $1.8 million for the governmental funds and $575,000 for the business type funds. Now, if we look out more than a year, then the general fund has $15,900,000 in debt, and the proprietary funds have $886,000. Not very much for the proprietary fund. Brian smiles. Turn to the next page, the one that's sideways. And I want to highlight 2 or 3 things here. I explained that the cash was up in the general fund, as a result of governmental activities, and we can get a sense of where some of that's coming from here. I'd highlight, well, first of all, you can see that under the governmental activities are then your various activities therein: general government, administrative type things, street, economic development, parks, rec, and so on, police, and then the water type activity, water and sewer separated. You can see the expenses for each department, and you'll note that program revenues for the governmental activities aren't much because they're not designed to be supported by charges for services. Unlike water and sewer, charges for services are absolutely supposed to cover those expenses. But a couple of things. Park and rec charges for services is up significantly this year, as anticipated. I think that still has to do with the assumption of certain activities from the Green Valley Athletic Association, but that's a positive. Revenues were up. And some of the expenses were down. Interest on long-term debt, as you continue to reduce that. That line item is down, if I remember right at $100,000. And then, so now you say, well, okay, we've got this big deficit over here, if you will. Our expenses are quite a bit larger than our program revenues. Well, if you look down that third column from the right, there's where you'll see the predominant source of the income for those funds. Property taxes, sales taxes, franchise taxes. It's not a big amount, but investment earnings is about double what it was a year ago. I mean, rates have been ticking upward, and so, as you pay down your debt, that means you have a little more cash. Couple that with the rates going up, it does put a little bit more on the bottom line, so that's all positive. The next page I would steer you to is page 14. This is the income statement for the Water and Sewer Fund. Just a couple of things of note. The top line, $5.7 million, is 5.5% greater than a year ago. Certainly we know the community is growing, so one would expect that to reflect an increase. We talked about, lost my train of thought right there. Well, in any event, third line from the bottom, increase in net position, $760,000. And this is important because we'll talk about it a little bit later, but you have certain covenants with regard to your revenue bonds that you have to meet, and part of that is a rate covenant that allows you to generate enough income to help pay the bills. So that's good to note. Starting on page 17 is a lot of stuff. And there are the footnotes to the financial statements. and they go on and on. We don't make this stuff up. These are items that are required by professional standards based on certain things you have in your financial statements, then certain disclosures are required. Purpose being to help you all, as well as any other user of the financial statement, to appropriately interpret what the financial information is saying. And so we can add to or help clarify that type of thing. On page 27, I do think it's important to note publicly that under deposits and investments, one of the things that we do as part of a compliance item is to make sure that all the city's funds are appropriately secured either through FDIC insurance or with pledged securities to the city by that financial institution. So that last sentence under number 2, you can see there we say all deposits were held by at a qualified depository, and the sentence right above that says that they were fully insured with a combination of FDIC insurance and pledged collateral. So that's important. Obviously, your patrons don't want the city's cash at risk, and neither do you. We were talking a little bit ago about interest going down. Well, on page 36, I mentioned interest was down about $100,000 in the general fund. Well, on page 36, the top half of that statement, of that footnote, is the governmental activities, and the 4th column over, retirements, total debt, certificates of deposit, TIF bonds, notes payable, capital leases. The city retired almost $1.9 million of debt, and that's good. I mean, it's great. I even like the one at the bottom better. Business type activities, you retired $565,000, and at your current, at 12/31/17, not maybe what you're going to do later tonight in the agenda, but at the end of December 31/17, your debt in the water and sewer fund would have been paid in full partway through 2020, just 2.5 years out. So that's pretty strong. I don't see a lot of our municipal entities having that little of debt, if you will, in relationship to the size of the water sewer operations, the number of patrons, the investment in infrastructure, and so on. And so what I would want to leave you with is, I think you've gathered from my comments, that I believe that as a result of our audit, we can certainly say that for the year ended December 31, the city has had a strong year financially, and that you finished the year in a strong financial position, and that'll bode well as you move forward. You're almost halfway through 18 already. Heck, you're going to be working on the budget for 19 before you know it. But that'll bode well for the city moving forward. We noted no such instances of deficiencies in internal control. We'd be required to share those with you in a report. There were none, so hence you don't have a report such as that. We appreciate the cooperation, starting at the top with the city administrator, Mr. Khan. Kathy and her team absolutely prepared and have things ready for us to go. City clerk was helpful as well with the things we need from her, so Teresa was involved in that. So it was a good joint effort, and it allowed us to work through the audit in an appropriate time fashion. I've kind of done all the talking, but I certainly would respond to any questions that you might have.
Any questions?
Maybe one.
Sure.
So no findings at all, and were there any recommendations or recommended changes to any practices?
No, we did not, Mr. Bannon, yes. No, we did not note any such items like that this year. There have been some in the past. Never a lot here. I mean, things have always been pretty tight, but no such recommendations or observations this year.
Anyone else? All right, thank you.
Well, thank you very much for letting us be on the agenda this evening. Thank you for letting us share a little bit about your audit. And more importantly, or just as importantly, thank you for the relationship. We absolutely appreciate the opportunity to be of service to the city of Green Valley. Good evening. Thank you.
Okay. See no other presentations or public hearings. Move on to ordinances.
Mr. Mayor, the first ordinance is Bill B 18-08, and it is the second reading. It will be ordinance 2436, which is an ordinance amending Chapter 700, Code of Ordinances, City of Green Valley, Missouri, pertaining to the banning of lead in the public drinking water system. Second reading, ordinance 2436.
I move that we accept bill number, B 18-08 for its second reading, making it ordinance number 2436.
I have a motion from Alderman Totten to approve Bill B 18-08 for its second reading, making an ordinance 2436. Do I have a second? Second, Alderman Bamman. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, as we stated with the first read of this last board meeting, this is just a housekeeping item to update the definition of lead-free in our Code of Ordinances to meet DNR requests.
Anyone have any?
I was going to say, Alderman West had noted a discrepancy between the written version of the percentage and the numerical version, so we corrected that. So it is the .25. So that will be fixed on the ordinance.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Bamman? Totten? Stratton?
Yes.
West? 4-0, Mayor, 2 absences. Next bill is Bill 1809. It is the first reading of an ordinance authorizing the issuance of the City of Green Valley, Missouri General Obligation Refunding Bonds, Series 2018A, authorizing certain other documents and actions. First reading, Bill B 1809. It's on the agenda for 2 reads tonight, Mayor.
Mayor, I move that we accept Bill B 18-09 and bring it back by title only for the second read.
I have a motion from Alderman West to approve Bill B 18-09 for its first reading, bring it back by title only for its second reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Totten. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, you received in your e-packet a version of this ordinance that was more of a placeholder. We had a sale today on these bonds, so we did not know at the time of sending out the e-packets what those numbers would be. This evening we have Ben Hart from Springstead, which is our financial advisor, who has joined us, and you'll have a second copy, an updated copy, was placed with all your seats on the dais with the numbers. And Mr. Hart is going to go through the bond sale today and kind of the history of these bonds and any other information that we have.
Yeah, two pieces of really good information. Like Ryan said, my name is Ben Hart. I'm the Senior Vice President with Springstead Incorporated. Just a side note, I used to do what Butch does, so I followed him all the way through that. And that's actually one of the reasons you guys have a really good rating, which I'll get to in a minute. So just kind of backing up a little bit of history here. So you guys may or may not know, 2005, 2007 were 2 referendums. There were bond issues that were issued out of those referendums. They were issued in 2008. What this did today was refund that to lower your interest costs on that 2008 bond issue. The 2005 was a myriad of a few projects. The 2007 specifically that was in this refunding was the infrastructure and the parks referendum. And those 2 pieces actually brought the interest down quite a bit. The size of this bond was $3.38 million. I'm sorry, we ran, every year we run your debt through our models in St. Paul. Our bond guys, that's all they do, they're bond geeks. They'll look at all of our clients' bonds, you guys are one of them, and said, hey, these might be ready for a refunding because you have an ability to actually prepay them. And there's only really, within 10 years, there's a window that you can prepay those bonds, and that's what they did. They ran that analysis right about January. If you remember, that's when the tax rules were coming out, and it's also where the bond market went nuts. Didn't know where it was going to be. At that time, we hedged a little bit. We added some interest to it. We thought it was around $205,000 in savings. Today, it ended up $259,000 in savings. That's over a 10 years period. It's around $30,000 per year lower in your debt service fund is what that means. So we not only hit that mark, the market beat that mark. We've been in the market for 2 weeks, and this is probably the lowest time we've seen them right now in the rating that you guys have, which was perfect timing. We took the bids at 10 o'clock today. We had 10 bids, 10 different banks. I usually see in the last year I've been doing this, well, 25 years, but the last year in the recent time, I've seen as much as 5, as low as 3. We had 10 today. So it continues to amaze us what that market's going to do. Of those 10, that represented around 40 banks. It kind of shows the credit quality you guys have. A lot of local banks, when I say local, Kansas City area-wide banks, that understand what Green Valley is about and what your credit market is. It's a strong credit. So they were all interested. Commerce got the bid. The interest rate was 2.46%. GFOA, the Government Finance Officers Association, puts out a kind of a guidance, if you will, to look at refundings. What does that percentage really got to be? What's the percentage of savings? It really is around 3% as a benchmark that you'd start looking at savings. You guys doubled that. Your savings was around 7%, 7.5%. So it was great timing. Usually we see that in the taxable market when we refund them into a tax exempt. That's a pretty big savings you guys hit. So pulling the trigger on this one early, you guys pulling the trigger early, really helped us out. Now, the other piece of good news was the rating. As you know, Standard & Poor's Global, they're the ones that rate your bonds. Typically, it's either Moody's or S&P. We went with S&P. They not only rated this one, but they also took another look at your 2012 TIF bonds. When they looked at that, they actually increased the rating from a triple B to an A, 2 spots. And the reason was because of the city's willingness to stand behind the development, not to mention the cash flow of that development. So that actually helps. Tom and I, when Tom Calico know when I'm talking about that rating, that really helps open the door, if you will, for potential opportunity to get out from under those bonds or do other refundings down the road that could really, again, help you guys. As far as the overall rating is concerned, they reaffirmed the AA minus. They said some of the factors were strong financial management and good financial policies, favorable access to employment centers to Kansas City as a whole. You're close to Kansas City. Your citizens have an ability to drive a short distance and really be an attractive community for that employment center. Strong budgetary performance. The one thing that I identify really well with, because of my background, is the strong budgetary flexibility. That really means the fund balance has been built up, that you have that in your policy. Your conservative budget techniques really mean a lot to them. And the fact that your liquidity is high, your cash, you manage your cash really well as well. So that was actually a really good phone call with them. Kathy had all the information that they needed, the 3-4 pages of notes and questions. She had put it all together. We sent it over to them. They were very happy. With that, one of the things I guess I forgot to mention is we did not extend it any longer than what it was already. It matures in 2028, so it's the same time frame. So this savings is going to be level across the next 10 years as far as a decrease in payment. So really good news today. Like Butch said, you dropped some interest costs, and we're happy to stand for any questions.
Any questions? Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any additional discussion or questions? All right. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
4-0 first. Second reading, ordinance D 1809. It will be ordinance 2437. An ordinance authorizing the issuance of the City of Green Valley, Missouri General Obligation Refunding Bonds, Series 2018A, and authorizing certain other documents and actions. second reading ordinance 2437.
Mayor, I move that we accept Bill B 18-09 for its second reading, making it ordinance number 2437.
I have a motion from Alderman West to approve Bill B 18-09 for its second reading, making ordinance 2437. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Bamman. Any discussion?
I do have one question. Sorry I didn't ask while you were still up here. Please don't get back up, because, were there any local banking institutions here in Green Valley that were able to participate in this at all?
I'd have to check. There's a number of them, like UMB, Commerce Bank, there's a couple of First State Security Banks, a Security Bank in the city. There's a number of them that's got locations all over the metro. I'd have to look specifically within Green Valley.
Okay, thank you.
No questions? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
West, Stratton, Totten, Ammon, 4-0, Mayor. Next bill is Bill B 18-10, first reading, an ordinance approving the final plat of Woodbury 6 plat. First reading, Bill B 18-10.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept bill number B 18-10 for its first reading and bring it back for its second reading by title only.
Okay. I have a motion from Alderman Bamman to accept Bill B 18-10 for its first reading, bring it back by title only for its second reading. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman West. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, this is approving Woodbury 6 plat, 68 single-family residential lots. This was actually part of a previous plat approval that got split into separate plats. The only thing that engineering is waiting on is the final approval of engineering documents. If you have any questions, Ken Murphy can answer them.
Any questions or discussion?
These are single dwellings, though. Okay.
All right. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
4-0, first reading, Mayor. Moving next to resolutions. Resolution R 18-26 is a resolution by the Board of Aldermen, City of Green Valley, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with et cetera Institute for community survey services. Resolution R 18-26.
I move that we accept resolution R 18-26 as read.
I have a motion from Alderman West to approve resolution R 18-26. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Bamman. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, this is going to be for a citizen survey that will include questions about city services as well as the future municipal complex at the corner of Snybar Boulevard and Buckner-Tarsney. In the scope of work following the resolution, you can actually see the project timeline, schedule, and the deliverables that we're requesting through this. But essentially, they'll be doing mailed surveys. People can complete these through the internet as well, and they'll also do telephone surveys. They will reach the amount of surveys committed in the scope rather than just contacting, say that they're going to reach out to 300 people and they reach out. They will make sure that they get the committed surveys completed. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have in addition to what's in the packet.
Any questions?
What is the time frame going to be?
The final project will be completed by, it's a 3-month timeline, so we should have the final project done in September. The draft report will be submitted, and then within September, we'll prepare and deliver the final report to the Board of Aldermen.
Do you have any additional questions? All right. Seeing no additional, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
4-0. resolution is R 18-27. It is the resolution by the Board of Aldermen, City of Green Valley, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to enter into an updated agreement with MorphoTrack for live scan services. Resolution R 18-27.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept bill number R 18-27 for its first reading and bring it back for its second reading by title only. Oh, excuse me. I move that we accept resolution number R 18-27 as read.
I have a motion from Alderman Bama to accept resolution R 18-27. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman West. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, as this title indicates, this is an update to an agreement that we have in place right now. LiveScan is the digital fingerprint machine that the police department uses. We'll be entering into this agreement with MorphoTrack. Captain Palachek can answer any questions or give any more background to this updated contract.
Now, is this gonna, where they take the fingerprints, will it go through the area to other police departments to see if they're...
Yes, it's an electronic system that goes through the highway patrol, and the FBI, who can take fingerprints, runs it through their automated fingerprint system.
Okay.
And with this update, we'll be able to get back instant, identifications, and so be a lot of warrants.
Okay.
Additional questions? All right. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
4-0, Mayor. Resolution R 18-28, a resolution by the Board of Aldermen, City of Green Valley, Missouri, authorizing the city administrator to enter into an agreement with Jackson County, Missouri, for the distribution of combat funds of $82,307 for the 2018 fiscal year. Resolution R 18-28.
I move that we accept resolution number R 1828 as read.
I have a motion from Alderman Totten to approve resolution R 18-28. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Bammon. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, members of the board, this resolution is simply as it states, just accepting the $82,307 from combat to be used to pay for or support certain services within the city of Green Valley. We'll receive two separate payments, one upon contract execution and then a remaining at the end of the fiscal year. If you have any questions, I can answer them, or Captain Palachek.
Now, this here will be coming to Green Valley, that amount.
Yes, ma'am.
Any additional questions?
What are the kinds of things we do with these funds?
Combat is used to pay for some of the school resource programs, so DARE, that sort of thing. That's where a lot of the funding comes through. What other additional programs does it support, or is it all for the DARE?
And there, the SROs, any of the school or educational programs that we do, it's also used to authorize the grad program, that's
Primarily as wages and benefits type dollars, or resource dollars for the programs themselves?
it's both. That's used for the, salary, the SROs, the expenses, associated with their, the other programs and use for equipment.
Any additional questions? All right. Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
4-0, Mayor. The next three resolutions pertain to appointments to the Green Valley Parks and Recreation Board for 3-year terms. They are resolutions R 18, 29, 30, and 31. And respectively, they appoint resolutions appointing Brad Welly, Hayes to 3-year terms to the Green Valley Parks and Recreation Board. Resolutions R 1829, 1830, 1831.
All right, Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept resolution numbers R 1829, R 1830, and R 1831 as read.
I have a motion from Alderman Stratton to approve resolutions R 18-29, R 18-30, and R 18-31. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second, Alderman Bammon. Any discussion? Yeah, if you want to say something.
I said, are they here?
Two of them,
Shannon,
Dr. Willie and
I can't hear.
two of the three.
2 to 3.
Why don't you introduce it?
Shannon, would you like to introduce their,
Absolutely.
their reappointment?
Of the 3 park board members that we have that are being reappointed tonight, one is Brad Welly. He's there in the back of the room. He's been with the park board for almost 9 years. And we also have with us Don Kislavka, is also being reappointed. He's been with us for almost 13 years, I believe, on the Green Valley Park Board. So we are happy to have him and hope to continue to keep him on board and serving the residents of Green Valley.
Thank you.
Thank you for your services.
All right, any additional questions? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
4-0 on all 3, Your Honor.
All right, next up, city attorney's report.
That's in the report, thank you.
Next up, city administrator and staff report.
Start with Mr. Murphy.
Mayor and Board, I just wanted to let you know that we are now up and running with our NeoGov program. If you remember, that's what we're using now for basically to manage human resources for the hiring process. So now anybody can go to the website, click on any of the available jobs, and you can do everything on there. Put in all your information. You can import resumes and any other information that you need on there. But it's a lot easier for people to do. We're one of now 1,500 organizations nationwide that are using this program. So it's through Government Jobs, which has been probably the biggest provider for that type of thing now. But Kalila Holland worked hard to get that set up on our end, and we're happy that it's finally ready to go. We have, I believe, 2 jobs posted there now, a front desk attendant for Parks and Rec, and then a Public Works position.
Mr. Davies.
Mayor and Board of Aldermen, you may have noticed we have an Oates bus parked just north of City Hall here in our parking lot. Oates Transportation services for those seniors 65 years of age and older, and individuals 18 to 64 years of age with disabilities. That's offered here in Green Valley on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Just wanted to let everybody know that we're having an official ribbon cutting for the Oates service. That date is Monday, June 18th at 1 o'clock, and it will be right out in front of the Green Valley Community Center.
Mr. Arroyo.
Mr. Mayor and Board, I just wanted to give you guys kind of a snapshot. We had our spring cleanup, not this last weekend, but the weekend before. Had a very good turnout. We had 221 vehicles this time. Last year, I think we had like 198. We had 40 senior citizen pickups this year, and last year we had like 32, I believe. We went through 10 dumpsters, and 2 of those dumpsters we had as metal recycling dumpsters, and we should be getting an amount back for those here pretty soon. We expect a refund for those here within the next week. So, good program, and obviously we had an increase from last year. Also want to give you guys an update on June 28th, Thursday, June 28th is our community development event. That'll be out at Armstrong Park between 5 and 7. I'll mention that again in the next meeting, so thank you.
Teresa.
Also, along with liquor license renewals, it's occupational license renewal time. So those have all been mailed out and are coming in fast and furiously. If you'll remember, back in the fall, we had a discussion about asking landlords to start completing their occupational licenses. So I did mail out notices and applications to, just over, I think, 250 addresses we had on file from the water department. And I'm getting several of those back, or people are calling and letting me know that they no longer own the property, so then we're able to update the records with water billing as well. So if you hear anybody talking about that, the landlords have been asked to go ahead and annually complete that process now as well.
I just have a few things. First and foremost, I want to say fantastic job to Kathy Bowden. There were two big projects that came to a conclusion tonight. One, the audit report. To have an audit report with no recommendations or findings, fantastic job. She also has worked very hard to continue to strengthen our cash position and our financial position, which has made the bonds that we sold tonight so attractive to outside banks, to include the increase of our 2012 series from a triple B plus to a A. I mean, that's significant. I wish everybody understood the gravity of that when Mr. Hart shared that news with the board. That's a big deal and a huge accomplishment for the city, and none of it would have been possible without Kathy. So, fantastic job, Kathy. Thank you.
Thank you.
A couple other things real quick. We had the annual rib eating contest between Blue Springs and Green Valley this last Saturday at the Texas Roadhouse. I want to thank Texas Roadhouse for hosting that and for the funds that are raised through that. This year, we're still waiting to hear the final total, but typically we'll split the funds 50-50 between Blue Springs. This year, the benefactor is the VIPS program. So, unfortunately, we didn't choke. Nobody choked, but we did not win this year.
They may have eaten faster, I think, choked. But.
Yeah, we came in second place. I can say it was a solid second place.
We gotta work these guys out next year or something.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do some exercise.
They can't eat for like 2 days beforehand or something, I don't know.
And then, the last, two things that I wanted to mention. Next, at the next board meeting, we'll have the Board of Aldermen's, photo, session, so be here at 6 p.m. to get your, picture taken for the website and, for your bios. And,
Are we updating individual ones too?
yes, I believe we are. We're updating all of them, aren't we, Ken? I was told to have the entire board here at 6 p.m.
Well, it could all be a picture together.
For a group picture.
Okay.
I think it's just the.
Well, dress like you're gonna get individuals. I guess it doesn't matter one way or the other. I'll let you know in the meantime if you wanna know.
Unfortunately, I'm not able to be here. I'll be out of state.
Okay.
Can't do group one then.
Yeah, we'll probably push it off and see if we can get it at the following meeting though. Then, I'll talk to Sarah and we'll be in touch and follow up with the group. The last thing is I just want to remind the board that the Green Valley Partnership is having their Unwind After 5 event. It's just a social event that they're going to hold at Tyson's Auto Source this Thursday at 5 p.m. So thank you for hosting it, Justin, and if you get a chance to go by there, make sure you stop by. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Next up, Board of Aldermen reports and comments. Alderman Stratton.
I did have my first meeting with the park board this past week and learned that they do have a vacancy that they're looking to fill, and there's currently no representation for Ward 2, right? So if anybody knows anybody that might be interested, see Shannon Davies.
All right. All right. Alderman Totten.
Well, I'd just like to say thank you to everybody for being so efficient on things, and I'm very grateful for my neighborhood. I'll say that, and I'm working on someone to represent us in the park department, so.
Alderman West.
I want to echo basically what Ryan said. Kathy, you did an outstanding job. We need to congratulate you and your group with handling things in a very efficient and timely manner on both projects. Thank you.
Okay. Alderman Bammon.
Just, pardon me, just a couple of things to share. a school district update. It's a time of year when they, even though it's still a summer school in session, they shift their focus a little bit away from academics and think more about some of their projects and budget and some of those things. A lot of training and professional development occurs this time of year. I believe they're just about complete with the addition at the Early Childhood Center. And most of the grading and excavation work is concluded at the next phase of the expansion of the high school. So a lot of good things going on in our school district there. I received a call, shifting gears here, from a neighbor lives up the street, indicating that they had received a call claiming that they were from the city of Green Valley, looking for, it was this obvious scam to them, but even in their phone ID, it even registered as the city's number. So I don't know if that's something we maybe want to look into.
Absolutely. Haven't heard many of those, Captain Pouch, happening where it's coming across our number.
Not from the city, we had a few background tax time from the IRS scams that came around.
This was, I didn't ask exactly when it happened, but just the context of the conversation, suggested it was within the last day or two. I'd be happy to give you the name and phone number.
Pass on to Captain Pouch after this.
Share that with me, so I can follow up with you.
We might put that out too.
Yeah.
On
absolutely.
Facebook and
Yeah,
stuff, if we're
unfortunately,
hearing that,
people are able to
have people make sure they're calling in and reporting it.
Yeah. If it's questionable,
I'm sure it's
definitely
somebody
have
out
to
of
call us
state
back.
somewhere, or out of country probably, just fishing a phone line. I don't know how you prevent that.
You just have to educate folks
Not
that if it
to-
seems questionable to get a callback number and make sure that it's legit. We can't, unfortunately, there's no way to prevent, spoofing of the caller ID now. You can get it on any smartphone app. Yeah. But yeah, that's definitely something we need to put out on Facebook and let folks know that that's going around.
And that's it for today.
Okay. Next up is Mayor's Report. I just have one thing, because we're approaching that time of year of the 4th of July. And with that always comes the shooting of fireworks, and it is a no-win situation, because I will receive probably 100 complaints. 50 will be that we should let them shoot fireworks off for a month, and 50 will be that we should outlaw all fireworks being shot off. So we need to figure out what, because I believe our ordinance is 3rd, 4th, and 5th, correct? Can we look at this? So being that the 4th falls right smack dab in the middle of the week, we're probably going to need to add to that, because we know we're going to be getting people shooting fireworks off additional time. Now, the sticky point is, what is enough? And, and how are we going to, I know the police department it's hard to enforce, but it's almost like if we come to an agreement on X number of days, it's almost that we're going to have to kind of enforce the other days a little bit, at least, I think, is 11 p.m. the shut-off time?
I believe that the 3rd is, I think, earlier. I think it's pretty limited on the 3rd.
Okay. So we just need some guidance. Ken and I had talked, and we kind of thought that most people that were taken off would probably be the days after the 4th, so we thought maybe that would be the most logical to extend it. And, because if not, we're going to have people shooting from the weekend before all the way through the weekend after, and I don't think we necessarily want that, because we will hear about that. Because they're going to anyway, so at least, and the biggest issue we really get is, the complaints I get is people shooting them off after the time when it backs up to a day that somebody could possibly be working, like that Sunday after 4th of July, I think, because people come back to work on that Monday, and we're letting people shoot them off that Sunday night, we're, going to hear about it. So I'm up for suggestions. What we kind of came up with was the 4th of July is on the Wednesday, so Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday not on the Sunday after, and not on the weekend before.
And that was kind of to model what the board had.
Yeah, 'cause there was another time we had done it, and that was the same number of days we had did it. Or we can just go with what we have and enforce it on the weekend and say you can't do it. So, I mean, I don't know. So, well, how do we feel? I mean, from a police standpoint, I mean, it's hard for you guys to enforce, unless it's just getting absurd, you know, if they're shooting off at 2 a.m.
In the middle of the week like that, because we're gonna get complaints no matter what, because there's gonna be people that have to work on Thursday after the fourth
Yeah.
anyway, and so that's what happened last year, I think.
Yeah.
It was on Tuesday.
I think the biggest thing is the nighttime shut-off. I mean, if we can really enforce that and say, hey, you can't be out there shooting fireworks off at 1 a.m.
Yeah, maybe if we made the weekday ones earlier, 9, 10 o'clock, and then let them go late on Saturday, that might be.
Sounds good.
So what do we, so push it to like 10 on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then let them do Friday, Saturday, and push it, let them do 11?
I wouldn't do that on the 4th itself. You're gonna have people off on the 3rd.
Okay, so we'll,
Going
so during
into
the
the 4th.
weekdays, so let them go to the 11th on the 3rd?
I would say the 11th and then the actual holiday itself. I mean, you're gonna wanna that's probably gonna, on Wednesday the 4th, I mean, I know people are gonna celebrate before and after, but that's when the majority of people should be celebrating is on the 4th. So those are the 2 days that
So,
I would look at later.
so the 3rd and 4th go to 11, the 5th go to 10, and then the 6th and 7th go to 11, and then anything when, I think the biggest thing was to get it out there, what we're doing. Is there one, so do we just need a motion to adjust that ordinance, or do we need to actually do a vote next time as a resolution or something?
I think you could do it via motion, just as long as it's recorded.
Okay, did you get all that?
So I have third and 4th till 11, the 5th till 10, and then what was,
The 6th and the 7th until 11.
And other dates would be not allowed, and you have the police officer's discretion on enforcing that. And what, I mean, is it a general summons, the court, I think, is that what that is? I mean, typically you guys would stop by and give a warning the first time, say, hey, stop it, and if you get called back, you would, okay.
And we usually don't, I mean, it's usually not the officers driving around looking for, I hope you're.
Yeah, yeah.
Write your ticket, it's somebody calls and complains that they're shooting after hours or something like that, and usually it's a warning, and then if it continues.
Alright, I'll entertain a motion then for that. Yes? No, motion from Alderman West, do I have a second?
Second.
Second Alderman Cotton. Any discussion?
Mayor, sales will stop on the 4th though, right?
I don't know, can you still,
I think
I think they can still
still
sell on the
for
5th, can't they? Huh?
I think it's the 5th.
I think they can I think by ordinance they can go to the 5th. I think the ones we have in town typically stop on the 4th,
I'll pull it.
but I think they can actually go to the
Well,
5th.
those are two separate parts of the code though, too.
Yeah,
The
Sales versus, yeah.
but they may sell on the 5th this year since it's how it falls. So I think they can on the 5th, I just don't think they typically have. Any additional questions or discussion? All right, seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, look that up. That's all I have. Do you have a need for an executive session for items under personnel? That's the only 3.
Yes.
That's it. Okay, so I will entertain a motion to adjourn in the executive session. Motion from Alderman Bannett, second Alderman West. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye. All opposed, same sign. Alderman Stratton?
Yes.
Alderman Totten?
Yes.
Alderman West?
Yes.
Alderman Bailey?
Yes.
All right, we'll adjourn the executive session.